Hi everyone, and welcome to Tuesday's Tips with Laurie. Welcome back. I was gone out of town last week and I appreciate Kim taking over for me. So I am so excited. I worked on this all week and it's so much fun. I know that you guys have a lot of you have been working on the Broomhilda quilt, but this fun fringe spider, I have a fun tip or trick, if you will, on how to make this fringing super fun and super easy. And you also can use this trick on other things. We'll talk about that in a minute. So what it is we're talking about is water-soluble bobbin thread. Great invention. I love this stuff. So what you would do is you would wind the water-soluble bobbin thread onto a bobbin and mark your bobbin well. You don't want to mix this bobbin up with your other bobbins, because you'd hate to have something get wet and come completely undone, right? Only where you want it to come undone. So make sure you mark your bobbin that it's water-soluble bobbin thread right there. Then what you'll do is you'll stitch your design out, and when you get to the part where it's gonna fringe, and right here I still have one that's in the process of being stitched out. You can see it's not completely stitched out, and you can kind of see some of the inside stitches because these haven't yet been covered. So right here, this outer edge right here is where it's going to be fringed. So the process would be, when it starts the spider right here on this outer fringe, this big satin stitch, that is when you would stop your machine. You would swap out your regular bobbin thread for the water-soluble bobbin thread, and then you would stitch this big satin stitch right here. Then when that satin stitch is completed, stop the machine before it does the tack down. Make sure you stop it before the tack down. That is the critical part right here. So you will stop it before it does the tack down stitch. And then here you can see, I'm just gonna overlay this, you can see this little ring, this inside ring right there that's got the satin stitching. That's the tack down. That's what's holding those fringing stitches, if you will, down. Okay, so make sure that when you transition between the two, so once again I'll show you one more time, the outer stitches is what's fringing, so you use the bobbin that has the water-soluble thread on it when you're stitching this, and then you stop it before it stitches the inside satin stitch. You switch it back to your regular bobbin thread, and then you stitch these inside stitches right here. Now this is where the magic happens. That may seem a little bit cumbersome to stop it, swap out your bobbin thread, swap it back, but you will love this. You will love the reason why you would do this. So let me get to the fun part now. Because it's water soluble, I know in the past, or if you don't have water soluble, you would clip all of these stitches right here that are white, and I'll show you with this. You would clip these stitches right here, and then you would fringe. Well, with the water soluble, you don't have to clip. You just add a little bit of water, and then they disappear, they dissolve. So look how fun this is, look how quick this is. Now I know that not everyone will have a water pen, but these are available. They're very similar to the starch pens. It's just filled with water instead of starch. You can actually just use the water from that, and you just generously apply the water. Or if you don't have a pen, look how simple this is. Just a regular paintbrush, and I just get it wet, and then I just kind of basically paint that water right on. You can see the water kind of saturating in, and it's kind of fun, right? Mixing and painting with sewing. Super fun. And then you just give it about 30 seconds, and it's so fun. It just starts dissolving after about 30 seconds. If I go slower, can you see the water going on a little bit easier there? If I go slower.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Super fun. And it does take a generous amount of water. I wouldn't say that it just, but you can see these are already completely dissolved up here. Can you see how the stitches are loose? You see that it's already dissolved up here. see how easy that was? So you can, they just dissolve, the water they just dissolve really quickly. And then once it's dissolved, I kind of like loosen them just on the back. Can you see how these are just coming right up? You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So this is dissolved right here. So I'll show you. I'm going to flip it over now. And then you can just lift those stitches. And you don't have to cut or trim. But the coolest part about this is you get perfect loops. There's no loops that are catching in the bobbin thread because the bobbin thread is completely dissolving. So you can just, every loop comes out just nice and perfect. And I know sometimes when you cut the bobbin thread on the back, I know people are worried about cutting the wrong stitches, but if you put your bobbin thread in at the right time and take it out and put your other thread in, look how easy, look how fun that is. Just that the bobbin stitches are all nice and looped, and I'm not cutting, I'm just using this to pull the loops up. And you just pull it up all the way around, and it's so much fun. So I wanted to let you see some of it up and some of it down so you can kind of see that inner ring that I was talking about. These are called tack down. These are your tack down stitches that hold these loops in place. So this is the stitch that you want to make sure you have your regular bobbin thread on, and this is the stitch that you would have your water-soluble thread on. Now you can do this with our other Fringe products that we have. The flowers, it's great. They come right off. It's so much fun. And then you can also use it, and you see these little embellished spiders here too. These were made on Mylar and tulle and stitched out, and this middle part is also fringe. So before it does this middle fringe stitch where you see it stitching back and forth like a big satin stitch, that is the stitch where you would use your water-soluble thread. It turns invisible basically. And then you would make sure that you switch it back to your regular bobbin thread when it does that center tack down. That's what's holding the spider one down, is that very center tack down.
Mm-hmm.
So you could also use this on, if you're doing a Chanel product and it does a basting stitch around the outside of the Chanel, any basting stitch that you don't want to have to unpick, you can easily just have your thread already ready, and all you do is swap it out, let it do that basting box, for example, or a basting stitch that you're going to be unpicking. Make sure you stop your machine and put back in your regular bobbin thread before it does the actual tack down stitches. But then you can just run some water along that and pull those basting stitches right out, and you don't have to sit and unpick. So it's kind of a fun little thing to try. Really fun product. So I hope that you will use the water soluble and just give it a try. It's a lot of fun. And I know that there's several stores that have that and carry, it's just water soluble thread. And I would just recommend making sure that water soluble thread is pretty thin, maybe 40 or 60 weight. I wouldn't go in much higher than that. That's it. So I hope you enjoy making your Fringe with water soluble thread. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much. Bye.